The game starts traditionally by clicking on the clock, where we see that some time passes and marks appear on the board in front of us. Under Repurpose, there are 4 marks, and the last mark is made by Syringin under Persist. We wake up, apparently in our room, and start up a screen where we go through a little survey about our condition. We find out that we don't remember anything, not even our name. For passing the survey, we are given a blue keycard. After taking it, we get a message that one of the employees will come to the door. We hear ourselves being told to move away from the door to the corner of the room, which we do. The door opens, and in walks a young Banban, who tells us that newbies are always easy to fool. He introduces himself as number 6 and greets us as a neighbor, which is a reference to the game Hello Neighbor. He is surprised that our room is much nicer than his and asks if we want to switch rooms. But he remembers that we probably don't understand where we are and tries to explain everything to us. Banban wants to introduce us to this place where we find ourselves, but he adds, "We will come back to the question of exchanging rooms." We are also given a ring on which we can attach a card key, of which we will have many later on. Banban remarks that we shouldn't linger, and we should go to the next room, lest the observing staff think something is wrong. Near the door of our room, we see a keychain. These keychains can be used to decorate the ring of cards. We open the door to the next room with the blue key card, and we see a sign. Welcome back, case number 4, and as we know from other parts of the game, case number 4 is Syringin. So we can understand that we're in rooms made for Syringin, presumably so that he can conduct his tests here. Banban says that life here consists of playing, sleeping, and most importantly, doing whatever he is told to do. We walk into a new large room that looks more like a play area. In the darkness above, we see a bunch of eyes watching us, most likely Opila birds. Judging by the similarity in their gaze is when we meet Opila bird in different chapters of the game. Banban introduces us to Banbalina, who is case number 7. She looks at us and says the phrase, "As if one of you wasn't enough?" Banban says he volunteered to show us with everything in the room and adds that that's what true leaders do. Banbalina wonders why is it that he called himself a leader, to which the answer is that Banban is a leader because everyone obeys him. Banbalina tells us she'll only talk to people who are interested in knowledge, and judging by us, we don't even know what our case number is. Banban takes us to a conversation where he says we should get to know the people in the room, try to make friends, and maybe Banbalina will treat us better, just like she secretly treats him. And I would like to point out that Banban has a big ego. We start exploring the room looking for friends, and first we go into the classroom, where we find a report that says Banban has been injected with a new strain of Gavanium that should make him more docile, even in the face of possible physical damage by humans in the future. It hasn't yet been investigated whether all the creatures they've created actually feel pain, or if it's a residual reaction due to the donor genome injected into them. And I'll remind you that the Garten of Banban is doing experiments crossing human, animal, insect genes with Gavanium, which produces the creatures we see in the game. We go further into the exam room, where we meet the so-called Gavanium blob, which have intelligence and can talk, but are quite stupid. Perhaps they are the first stage of crossbreeding with something. Nevertheless, we are asked to help solve a puzzle to help the Gavanium blob, and at the same time prove to Banbalina that we are smart. By completing the task, chests will open, one of which contains an exam sheet with an A+ grade. Upon reading which, in theory, we can assume it's filled out by Jester, aka Bittergiggle. Since the column for who your best friend is Anteater and Toad, which is Brushista and Sheriff Toadster, with whom Jester was friends, even when he screwed up in Chapter 4 of the game. And in the last question, which is what this exam sheet is printed on, a little reference to the game Bendy and the Ink Machine. In a nearby chest is a new keychain and a purple keycard. Next to the exam room, there's another Gavanium blob sitting on one of the cell, asking for our help, namely to catch him when he jumps. Banban suddenly intervenes and asks why he didn't ask him for help, to which Blob replies that he thought he was on offense for some prank he'd arranged on him. Banban says that's not true, and he's long since forgotten about it, and says it's safe to jump and he'll catch him. The blob jumps and lands right on the cactus, and Banban didn't even try to catch him, and he says, "Never prank a prankster." We get Blob off the cactus, and he thanks us for our help. Another blob peeks out in the blue cell, who noticed how we helped and asked for help too. To get to the cell, we climb the stairs above, and on the way, we find 2 new keychains. When we get to the blue cell, we see an unknown creature that runs away as soon as we approach. We find another keychain nearby. We go into Blob's room, and we see a report on the table, saying that the new strain of Gavanium injected into Banban is causing a side effect whereby Banban becomes aggressive and attacks everything he sees. It happens suddenly, there are sharp teeth, ears, white eyes, and muscles on his body, but when Banban calms down, he returns to his normal state. This aggressive form form is labeled Case 6B, and a solution to this side effect is sought. Blob asks us to solve the task he has been assigned, but he can't do it because he has no hands, and he was promised a prize if he completes everything. In return, he offers to give the wheels that is in his room. We complete the task in the safe with a guitar as a prize is opened, but Blob realizes that he can't play the guitar either because he has no hands. After taking the wheels, we return to the main room, where we find two more blobs arguing over who gets the chest. We have to hook the wheels to the boat so that one of the blobs can get to the other. They argue, and eventually one knocks the other out. We are allowed to take the contents in the chest, but there is just a bow for Banbalina. We hand the exam sheet and bow to Banbalina, and she is now happy to be our friend. Banban gathers everyone in the center of the room to play hide and seek, and it's our turn to find everyone. Running around all the rooms, we manage to find everyone. Now it's our turn to hide, and Banban asks us to follow him, and he'll show us the best place to hide. But suddenly a door opens and Syringin comes out and grabs one of the blobs. Banban walks over to him and theatrically, for all to hear, says, "Begone, you monster," and then continues his conversation with Syringin in a whisper. We keep eavesdropping, and we hear that Banban is going to be completely replaced because of his side effect, but Syringin has a plan which he will announce later, but it has to be done tonight, or the staff will realize he's helping Banban. He also adds that he managed to get the doctor's genome as he promised, which will help him control his side effect. Syringin leaves, and Banban runs up to Banbalina, to whom he brags that he chased Syringin away and hopes she saw it. She's afraid that at some point she'll be taken too. It's only a matter of time. Banban promises that won't happen. He asks us to go to our room and get some sleep, which we do. Banban wakes us up and, as an apology for the first day, wants to surprise us. He convinces us to follow him, and it's worth it. We reach the red door and see Truffletooth, who is labeled case number 43, run out to us. Banban calls him a true friend and suggests we take him in our arms because he can glow in the dark and be like a flashlight for us. With Truffletooth's help, we find the red key card and try to open the red door. Something malfunctions and Banban summons his friend, which turns out to be Neb, which is quite strange because, judging by other parts of the game, Neb was almost an outcast to everyone. We move on, find a new keychain along the way, and we come to a large, dark room. Banban asks us to find a way to turn on the lights, and by pressing two buttons, we manage to do so. In front of us is a huge hall with a large gate, which according to Banban will open if you stand on the 5 buttons located next to it. But there are only 4 of us, and Truffletooth's weight is not enough for him to press the button. We have to find 2 more to open the gate, behind which, again according to Banban, his surprise awaits us. Next to that, we find a report that says that Banban's aggressive form of 6B has not been eliminated, even after weeks of modifications. It has already caused fatal injuries to 10% of the employees who worked with it. It has been observed that the emergence of the aggressive form is influenced by the fear and anxiety of the normal form of Banban. Permission is requested to create a training video for employees so they know how to interact with this object, self-defense techniques in the event of an attack. No solution to this side effect has ever been found, and then we find another keychain nearby. We go in search of someone to help us open the gate. Along the way, we find a new keychain and another report saying that the decision has been made to eliminate Banban completely, as no solution to the side effect has been found, and the employees are worried for their lives if they come into contact with him. This was very frustrating for Syringin, who is working on a solution with the other staff members. But since Banban is the face of the kindergarten, the suggestion is to just start from scratch, with experience already under his belt. Create a new case number 6, already without the side effect. We see the entrance to the operating room, and there lies tied up Jester, aka Bittergiggle. He asks for help because while he was lying there was an earthquake and something malfunctioned, and the room began to fill with explosive gas. He asks us to pick up a yellow keycard and find a way to stop the gas leak. We find the keycard and try to use it, but the door to the operating room is locked. Jester yells at us that we need to manually shut off the gas using the panel that was installed. We accomplish this task and free Jester, who in return is willing to always come to our aid. Nearby, we find a new report on the Tarta bird, a male version of the bird, just like the Opila bird. The purpose of creating the male version is to observe how he will interact with her, whether there will be the same reaction as the interaction in humans. So far, Tarta is in the preparation stage before meeting the Opila bird. We leave the operating room where we are greeted by Banban, Neb, and Truffletooth. Jester is asked to help open the gate, and suddenly there is a noise from the box. Underneath it turns out to be Kittysaurus, who also joins us to help open the gate. Along the way, we find a dark corner that contains a safe with a hammer. At the gate, Banban tells everyone where to stand and puts us in the center since the surprise behind the gate is for us. Suddenly, Neb decides to give us a hug. Why? We stand on the button and the gate opens. Neb pushes us away to save ourselves, and the monster Ramamba swallows him. So we realize that the surprise was for us to be destroyed by Ramamba, but why would he do that? We run after the crawling Ramamba with Jester and Kittysaurus, but suddenly they're eaten. Banban and Truffletooth call for us to get back to them, and just as we get there, the floor collapses and we fall into some kind of cave. Banban suggests we split up and look for a way out. We grab Truffletooth and we hear Ramamba eating Banban and crawling towards us. We run and hit a dead end. We turn around and see Banban's aggressive form awaken and jump out of Ramamba's mouth. But he doesn't give up and tries to swallow us all. Banban holds his teeth in his mouth, preventing us from being chewed up. Ramamba run at breakneck speed through the cave and makes it to the common room. Aggressive Banban decides to act radically and gets into a fight with Ramamba. Come to our senses and see Truffletooth lying unconscious nearby. Climbing up the ladder, we jump into the red cell where we find a secret room, in which we are greeted by Slow Celine, a snail, and she says,
"Oh, it's you. You are absent from most of my visions. Why is that, I wonder? But in the few where you are present, you are accompanied by a stranger."
We can assume that the stranger is a reference to the parent we play as in other chapters of the game. It's written on the board about Slow Celine, about how she can be stopped, but can't be safely sped up. As we remember, the snail can accelerate at breakneck speed. Another board says case number 19, which is apparently Jumbo Josh, and there are questions written on it. Does it know when to stop? Can it do this infinitely? And next to it on the table, there's a new report, which tells the story of Case 6C under the alias Anti-Devil, that this version of Banban was made entirely with previous experience in mind, and he was left on a bed in a room so that the process of forming Gavanium could take place naturally. It is predicted that the new Banban will regain consciousness in a few days. A screen has also been placed in the room with a debriefing that he will have to undergo, and only then will he begin interacting with the staff. The new Banban will be left to interact with other beings as long as he is conscious and can function. After that, the past Banban will be eliminated at management's discretion. And I think you've already guessed that we're talking about us, the character we play as. We're the new version of Banban that's been made to replace the last one. That's why Banban tried to destroy us and manipulated our naivety, because he wanted to keep himself alive so that there would never be a replacement for him again. We go to Ramamba's body where Banban jumps out and says that maybe they're probably right about him, maybe they're not, and abruptly changes the subject, suggesting we play hide and seek. He says to follow him, he'll show us another cool place to hide. We follow him, and we go into the management office, and we see that this is the same place from the beginning of the game. When we saw the markings, this is where the vote was taken on, whether to keep Banban from case number 6 or eliminate him. And as we can see, only Syringan voted to keep Banban. Nearby, we see a new keychain. Banban looks at us and asks us to hide in a large closet. He says that after what happened today, it's unlikely anyone will find him here, which means this is the best place to hide. When the game of hide and seek is over, he'll let us know. In the meantime, we need to stay in the closet and not make a sound. Now it's clear that Banban was trying to get rid of us when he found out he was going to be eliminated. And if he didn't succeed with Ramamba's help, then by manipulation in the form of a game of hide and seek, he hid the new Banban, whom fans of the game call Flambeau, in a closet, where he will sit for many years until he is found. Because as we remember from the beginning of the game, you have to do all the tasks that he is told. And Banban himself apparently then pretended to be new Banban, and thus avoided elimination. Now we know the story of Flambeau, who was found in Banban's closet in the teaser for Chapter 8 of the game. Sub, like, share, and comment. See ya in the next video.